Hi, everyone. Welcome for joining us. Thanks so much for being patient and waiting for us. We still have a few more minutes before we can start ahead, but I'll give you an introduction to myself. So welcome to our massive online open course this evening. In this one-off session, you'll be learning more about JavaScript from Dell Technologies. Backstage, you have me, Aileen. I am a Code First Girls brand ambassador. So if you have any questions about Code First Girls or other upcoming classes and events, please do put them on the YouTube chat and I'll try my best to reply during the session. A little bit about me. I'm currently a delivery manager at a challenger bank. So I used to work as a chemical engineer in the energy industry for around 3.5 years before deciding that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life and decided to pivot during the first lockdown last year. So that was really exciting. You can always chat to me about it afterwards if you'd like. I've worked with Code First Girls during university and I've done their courses after university as well. So I've always enjoyed the time that I've spent with them. So that's why I'm helping them out as a brand ambassador to bring the code to you ladies and everyone else in the audience as well. So we're just gonna give it a few more minutes and then we can kick off. Okay, great. We're really excited to have Dell Technologies partner with us for the Dive into Web Development with Dell series of our massive online open courses and project sessions. You'll be jumping into JavaScript 2.0 with Paige. In the backstage, you also have Adeline, Sophia, Mark, and Gerard, I think I pronounced it right. We're expecting the session to take up to the full 1.5 hours. So if you have any questions, please post them in the YouTube chat and the team will get back to you. Code First Girls will be running other massive online open courses throughout the rest of the year, so just keep a lookout for that as well. And just to let you know that the YouTube video will be up for a week or two after the session today. So if you'd like to rewatch the content, you can do so by visiting the same YouTube link. So I'm really happy to be welcoming Paige to the stream to tell you all about JavaScript. Hey Paige, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for introducing me. I probably will turn my camera off just because I'm having some internet issues and I want to make sure that I deliver everything in the right time.
No problem. That's all right. So when you're ready to start sharing your screen, go for it. And then I can share that with our guests as well.
Sure. Let me.
Excellent. So I hope the rest of the audience, you haven't been roasting in the heat in London. It's been really hot. I've been hiding from the heat all day in the flat. It's been great way to hide. People think I'm a vampire now. I only come out when the sun's out. But that's a good way to avoid the heat, isn't it? So hopefully it hasn't been too bad for you guys. All right, we're just getting the presentation up and then we can start off with our class.
Yep. Sorry, having some...
No, that's okay. Does anyone have any questions in the meantime? You're welcome to put it in the chat. Remember to stay hydrated. Very, very good point. I just keep a jug of water in the fridge because you just need your glass of water every day. Okay, yeah.
Sorry about this. I'm just trying to make sure everything's on the same screen.
It's okay. All right. It's always technical difficulties sometimes.
Let me just get the StreamYard up. Okay, so.
Okay.
Considering I work for a tech company, you would think I would be better at this.
No, I think a lot of us now, because we're all remote and using Zoom, there's always a lot more technical difficulties. So don't worry about it. It happens to the best of us. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So for the people on the call as well, Code First Girls has just opened their applications for the Nanodegree. So check it out on our website. And again, you're welcome to get in touch with us if you have any questions, if you're interested. Right, Paige's screen is up and running. So Paige, I'm going to hand it over to you. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of the session. Don't forget, just post your questions in the YouTube comments if you have any questions and the team will get back to you. All right, enjoy.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. I really hope you're looking forward to the JavaScript MOOC 2 with Dell. So as Eileen mentioned previously, I'm Paige and I'll be your instructor tonight. Sorry that I'm not on the camera. I just want to make sure that my laptop is okay. I think the heat is making it do funny things. But also from Dell with me tonight is Adeline, Sophia, Mark and Geraint. So we all have pretty different roles within Dell, but this is something that we've all really enjoyed learning and getting to know. So as we start, so today's agenda, the aim of this MOOC is to teach you as much as possible so that you're able to come away with the understanding of JavaScript to be able to use it as you like. So we're going to go through the JavaScript conditional statements, functions, event listeners, and other key concepts. So you'll see here we don't have a mini project, but instead we're going to do a lot of coding practice. And then finally, we're going to use Visual Studio and JavaScript as we'll be able to make all of our functions and still use the console to test them out. And then we'll be able to create a file saved on our computer to run through it. So just before we start, I want to say that make sure that you have Visual Studio and also Chrome downloaded onto your, or maybe Eileen's already said this, but we'll be needing those two to go through today. So first of all, we're just going to do a quick recap of the data types that we looked at in the previous MOOC. So string, number, Boolean, null, and undefined. And then we'll just do a quick recap on the conditional statements as well. So the if-else statements. So about the conditional statement is a set of rules performed if a certain condition is not met, and else is used to execute a block of code if the same condition is false. So if we have a condition, then if that condition is true, then we'll get code statement A, else if not, then we want code statement B. So what's different this time? So we are now looking at chaining conditional statements, which is where we not only have one do this, else do this, but we have it a few times. So it's where we're as it says in the naming, we're chaining conditions together. So the first is an and condition. So if condition 1 and condition 2, then we'd like code statement A to come out. And we want that code to run. Else, if condition 3 or condition 4, then we want code statement B. And just to, I guess, show you what it signals, the ampersands are for the and these two lines are for or. And then finally, if we don't have a condition, then we want code C to run. So moving on, in the last MOOC, we had a game called Amongst Us. This time, especially with us coming out of lockdown on Monday, we have a new idea called Pasta Hut. This is another form that has another piece to fill out. So we have the name, the date, time, number of adults, number of children, phone and email, as well as a little checkbox for us to go through. So for today, we will be starting at the bottom of the form and kind of working our way up. First, recapping the knowledge that we learned in MOOC 1 and then reapplying it again. So now we have our first practice. So what we will be doing is we'll be finding and storing both the name input and caption fields as variables and writing an if-else statement to display an error if the name input is empty. So let's go. I hope you all have the Pasta Hut code. So I hope that's being sent out to you now. Let me just get that up for you. I think I need to exit. So, and Just bear with me while my laptop is thinking. So here we have the pasta hut view. So what we need to do is, if you remember, click this 3-button, More Tools, and then Developer Tools. If I click that. I think my laptop is just having a little think. Sorry about this. While it's just, I think it's overheating from today. So I think bear with me while I try to get it up in another way. Okay, it was just having a think. So hopefully once you've got all of your consoles open, and I just clear your console and clear the history in case you have anything there from before. It's always good just to check that you're in the right code, so the top's fine in this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to be doing the first exercise where we're storing the name input and the name caption in variables, and then writing an if-else statement to display an error if the name input is empty. So what we want to do first is create the variables. So var space name input equals document dot. So we want get element by ID. So hopefully these should be coming up. If not, you can also write them out. Then we want to have open close brackets, and inside we want to use the quotation marks and put in name input. And then just as a reminder, to get down to the next level, you press shift and enter, and then you put name input here. Then again, you can shift and enter again, var name caption equals document. So like the above, but get element by ID and then name, caption. And then again, shift enter and then put name caption. So then when you enter this, you'll get this output. And then again, we just need to put in for name input so that that runs as well. And we enter it. So what's always good is to check to make sure that everything's correct. So we want to see whether or not the name input is empty. So what we then do is put name input dot value, and we just enter that, and we can see that it says blank. We can also do this in a number of ways. So we can try and get a string comparison or a numeric comparison. So it almost tries to give us a like true or false or the above. So if we just do the string comparison and we do name.input.value and we use the exclamation mark, 2 equals, and then space, and then put 2 dashes, and we should get false. And then again, doing name input dot value, dot length, which is what we need for numerical, and then is greater than 0. And again, we're going to get false. So then, so what we want to make sure, or what the exercise was asking us to do, is if we have, if the value is empty, then we need to display an error. So here's when we then need to use an if function, just to go back on why this is doing false or true or false. So with JavaScript, it's able to recognize if it needs to use Boolean or not. So it doesn't necessarily have to do a name comparison to spit out whether or not it's true or false. And the exclamation mark is not an equator, or it's not significant. And later on, when we're going through the chained conditions, it makes it a lot easier and smaller for us to read, rather than writing out each step like we're going to be doing. So then what we're doing is putting in if name input dot value, and we're doing 3 equals is blank. Then we want to put in close the bracket, and we want to do a space, and we want to do like a squiggledy bracket. So this bracket helps JavaScript to know that it needs to make an action, so that it's able to then run the code for us to get an output. So then we do shift enter again, and if we just put our final, well, it won't be a final one, but just so that we close the loop on this, then press tab, then do name caption dot inner text, and then we just do equals, please enter your name to make a booking. Then we need to do the else. So again, do the shift and also just close the action there, and then do else, open for another action. And let me just make this a little bit bigger for you. Hopefully that's okay. Or let me also zoom in to make it hopefully bigger. Or maybe that's only one. So let me just pull it out. Hopefully that helps.
Yep, I think that helps them. It's
Okay.
zoomed in. I made it a bit bigger, I think.
Okay.
So that's good. So keep going.
Thank
Thanks.
you. So then we have else. We've got the open squiggledy bracket. Again, press enter to get down to the bottom. And then we want to, again, hit tab, name, caption, dot inner text, and do equals, and then two of the quotation marks. We don't need this space. So then after this, we'll then click enter. So here you'll see that because we don't have a name in there, then we need to enter our booking. So I guess we can just also test this. So if I put my own name in there, and then we quickly copy and paste this and run it again, it should then go away. So then we know that that works. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. And let me just change over the display settings. Okay. Bear with me 1 second, sorry. I realised I had an updated PowerPoint that I was not showing you.
I can take that off the screen until you're
Okay.
ready. Yeah.
Thank you.
In the meantime, does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat about what you've just gone through.
Sorry for these little. Oh, yeah.
It's okay. Technical happens. We've got a question come through. Is JavaScript used for web scraping?
Web scraping.
Mm-hmm. So I'll just share that for web scraping. Yep. So I'm sure someone from the Dell team is racing to answer that for you.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. There was another question that came through from Grace. Is that console used for live web pages to test? QA? Yeah, Mark's just on it as well. Yeah, Paige, just let me know when you're ready and then I can put you back on.
Sure. So I'm just about to share properly and then
Okay.
I will be good
Excellent.
to go. Okay. Should be all good.
Right.
Thank you.
Excellent. No problem.
So quickly recapping on our for loops, which we touched on in the last MOOC. So we have our starting point, we have our condition, and then what's the step. So one key point to note on this slide is that when sometimes we do I equals I plus 1, now we can make a shorthand and have I plus plus, and this just makes it a little bit easier for us to when we're writing out the code so that it's not so long. And so we just have an example code just here. So here we have for I equals 1. The condition is I is greater than 5, and then I plus plus, so is the step. So every time we have I adding 1, and we'll get to 4 to get to our 5s, because obviously within computer language we start I guess at 0 in a way, and then we go all the way up to where we're going to hit. So then we've got our exercise 2. So this is now looking at finding and storing the email input and caption elements as variables. We're going to use a for loop to check whether the inputted email contains a single @ symbol, and then we're going to adapt the loop to display an error if there isn't exactly one @ symbol. So let's go back to our Pasta Hut site. So here we can just clear the console so that we can almost start again. You don't need to clear the history. That would be good to not. So here it's useful for when we have our email input in the form that we always need one at. So obviously with emails, it's normally, I don't know, say a@b.com. So we need to make sure, like in the R arrays in the last MOOC, we can do the same with string, but if we go through each character, it will check for an at. So here we'll use a@b as one of our variables. And as always, let's start from, I guess, the beginning, and we need to first store our email input and email caption in as variables. So again, var email input equals document.get element by ID, and then put that in the bracket. So email input, close bracket, shift enter, email input, and then again do email caption equals document.get, oh, not animations, element by ID, and then in there we put email caption, and then again just to make sure you close it, and then email caption, and then we can click enter. So we have this come out again, and then we do the same for email input. So here now it would be good for us to see what the value is of the email input. So we can put email input dot value, and then to that it'll come out as blank. So here if we then put in a@b.com. So again, we'll put that in. We can just copy and paste that from above, and you'll see that it comes through as a@b.com. And here what we can also do is check the character at each index. So here, so if we did email input.value, and then in the brackets we put in 0, it will return us the A. Say if we did email input.value, and then we did the same again with say 3, then we'll get the dot that's there. So what we need to do is that we need to write within the console to find whenever there's an @ symbol, and we need to include its location within the string. So a way we can do this is by doing a for loop. So we do for, and then put in var I equals 0, and then we put in semicolon. I is greater than email input dot value dot length, followed by another semicolon, and then so here we can either do I equals, so just to show you about the difference between I equals I plus plus or I plus 1, we'll do the I plus 1. And as we, again, ooh, I nearly forgot to, oh no, okay. So again, we need to have an action, so we put in the squiggledy brackets, and again, just go down and put those in for yourself ready, and then hit tab, and we do if email input dot value. So we're going to have the square brackets, we'll put in I, and then we'll do 3 equals, and then put into brackets, we'll put in the @ and then we'll close that bracket, and then open another doing, another action, and then we just want to hit tab again, then do console.log, and then Here, I'm hoping you may have the code, but if not, then there's just a specific piece here. And it's to say when you find the @ symbol, and it just has some inflections on it. So that you're able to get those. Then make sure before you finish, hit tab, and then I realized this one needs to be further in. So then you close this squiggly bracket, and then you should be able to run that. And the @ symbol was found at index 1, so that's what we see. Within code, and I guess within computer language, remember we always start from 0 to 6. So you can see here that even though this is kind of 1, it's actually 0, and even though this is 7 characters, it goes up to 6. So then if we, so I guess then we can also just have a quick look at the shorthands to understand how that works. So through doing var, so I equals 1. So you can do then console.log. And if you enter that, it should give you 1. If you then did so if we do the I++, and then the semicolons console.log with the brackets with the I inside, then that tells you 2. And so that's why it's a quicker way instead of just doing the I+1. It just makes it shorter. So what we then want to do is we want to keep count of the number of ats in the string, because now say, so we want to keep count of the number of ats, because obviously if we have more than one @ then the the email will be incorrect. So how do we do that? We start with, so we make a variable of @ symbol count, because we want to make sure it always starts from 0. Then we also, so then you would put in the shift enter var email equals email input dot value. And then this is where we then start the for loops. So then for, so var I equals 0 with the semicolons, and then I is greater than email dot length, sorry, semicolons with the I++. And then we want the action for the for loop. So then again, if we go down a couple of times, it just allows us to close this ready for ourselves. So then if we hit tab and we do if space email in the close brackets, not the squiggledy ones, whoops, I, and also make sure you don't have the wrong eyes, because I think when I was playing around with it, they can come back with different numbers. So I 3 equals, and then in the quotation marks you put the @ and then you can close the brackets, and then we have another squiggly bracket. So just make sure that you have that ready to close, and here hit tab a couple of times and put @ symbol count ++. So then that should run, and it's running as undefined. Although actually, sorry, I realized that we wanted to put in an error message. So what we actually need to do is continue with this. So then we want to click enter and shift and enter, and then we want to say if email, and then we have the exclamation mark equals, so it's empty, then we want, so basically it's looking at the and statement. So it's, if it's empty and the tick boxes also, sorry, email, so if it's empty and at symbol count, then we need to just see what's happening. So at symbol count, exclamation mark, 1, close the bracket. Again, we want the doing, or we want the action bracket. So shift and enter and close that down here for ourselves. Let me just pull this down so you can see everything. And then we want email caption dot inner equals, please ensure the email address you entered is valid. And then we want to do else. So we want another else so that we can have another output, enter, hit tab, and then we want to do email caption dot inner text equals blank for us. So just scroll down and hit enter. So right now, because we have something in there, it'll come back as empty. If I take that out and we just copy and paste this back in, then we can run this again, and it is not doing what it should do. So bear with me. Let me retry. So what we can do is so I think actually what might be happening is it could be storing email input value from up here. So let's just do email input value again, just to check. So it's empty, so it can see that. So then if we just rerun this again, this should come out with, please ensure the email address you entered is valid, which it's not doing. So let me take a look at that, and let's go back to the PowerPoint and move on to so looking at our new content functions and event listeners. So let me just share my screen with you again so it's in full view. Okay, so now we are going to look at functions. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so as you can see, a function is a block of organized reusable code that is used to perform a specific action. And so instead of using lots and lots of for loops or if else statements, we can check the condition many times through packaging it up and putting in parameters so our inputs, so that our inputs, our parameters, get to our outputs. So this is an example that is a reusable function. So here you can see we have our product and we have our parameters A and B and what we want to return. So here we have 2 and 4, and this brings back double 4, which is 8. We then have our 555, so our product of 3 and 5, and then this returns 15 for us. And then finally, we can also do a massive multiple where we use the outputs of both of our 2 previous inputs to make a massive multiple of 120. And a massive multiple is a function return. So an example of this just in real life. So imagine that you had a team of people, you're a manager, and your team are really good at carrying out functions, but they're not very, they don't have much common sense. So here is, this is exactly how a computer kind of functions. So what we need to do is we need to tell the computer to say if we told the computer to go and get someone's name, they would go and get the name, but if we haven't told them to store it, then we're not able to, it's not able to give us that back. So we need to make sure that when we're going through this process, we can then get a return of the information that we want to get. So then moving on to a function or to the logic body. So this is a slightly more complex piece, and it's also adding if and else statements into our functions. So here is an example again. So taking railcard discount as part of this example. So here you'd put in your name and your age, and if you are under 25, then your output would say, okay, travel discount applied. However, if you get anything else, so if you're above 25, so 26 onwards, then it would say, say for me, it's a page is not eligible for a discount. So this then leads us on to exercise 3. And so what we want to do is find and store the news and offers input and caption elements as variables. We then want to display an error if the user wants news and offers, but they didn't enter an email address. And then we want to use a function to display an error if the user wants news and offers, but didn't enter a valid email address. So let's go back to our pasta hut so we can clear this. And what we need to first do is store, as always, our news and offers input and caption as variables. So var news and offers input equals document dot get element by ID, then in the bracket news and offers input. Then we do news and offers input. We then do var news and offers caption equals document dot get element by ID, and then do news and offers caption. Again, doing news and offers caption. Then we enter that. Ooh. Let's just recheck that. I find sometimes that I accidentally put in capital letters where I shouldn't.
Hi, Paige. Would you be able to zoom in a little bit more on the console? I think a few of us.
Are you struggling? I'm trying.
Yeah, I think there's a control scroll to zoom the console all the way.
Okay,
in.
control
Something
scroll.
Like
okay, here we go.
There we go. Excellent. Yeah, I think that's better. Thanks very much. I'll let you know if we have more difficulty. Thanks.
Yep. Hopefully that's better for you and it's not too small. So just putting that code back in again, you should get the small text, and we do it again for the news and offers input. And so now we have those all entered. So now we're looking at this checkbox. So what we want to do is that we want to see whether or not the checkbox is active or not. So the way we do this is we do news and offers input dot checked, and then we just enter. So here it should say false. If we just check it quickly and rerun this, then it should say true. So if we've checked the box and we want news and offers, but we've forgotten to enter an email address, then this is where we then need to do an if function. So we will then have two statements. So if we don't want it, then we don't need their email address. And if they do want it, then we need their email address. So we need to be able to satisfy that. So if they have given us their email address and they've checked the box, we want to be able to send it to them. So here, as you can see, JavaScript is using the string and it's converting it to Boolean here. However, in this case, it still will work with any words that also come out as that don't have an at in. So if I was just to put in like rubbish, it may then. So if we then do an if statement on this to say, oh, you've forgotten your email address, let's just quickly do that. So if news and offers input dot checked, and we want to do the and email dot input, oops, not dot, email input dot value, and then we want to do equals, so it's blank. We then want to again have our actioning squiggle D brackets, and then go down to the bottom so we can just make sure this is actioned ready for us. Hit tab and do news and offers caption dot inner text, oops, equals, please enter an email address to receive news and offers. Close that, and then also put in another. So we then want the else, open and hit enter, and then we do news and let me just offers caption dot inner text. So here, because we've got rubbish in there, it will just pop up. So how I was saying about it will just take anything. So then what we need to do is we need to make sure that it's satisfying our rules about having an email. So what's important with an if statement is that we then wouldn't want to put in a whole load of other code to almost check on whether or not with a function, we don't want to put a load of if functions in because it then will make the code really long for us to read. And so we want it to be as simple as possible. It's like the idea of having almost like a recipe where you make a cake and say you have jam or you have icing, there would be a link within the recipe to then get to that so that you're able to not have to look through the whole recipe in one, but you are able to section it off. So what we need to then do is we need to check about having a valid email. So what we do is do function is valid email in the brackets, then we put email. We'll have again the squiggle because we've got actions happening, and after then we will hit tab and do bar at symbol count equals 0, and then hit down again and hit tab, so for var I equals 0, semicolon, then I is greater than email dot length, semicolon, and we have I, not capitals, I plus plus, close that bracket, and then again have, because we'll need another doing, so then we'll put 2 tabs if email, we don't want those ones, we want the closed, we want the square brackets I, and then we want to do equals, and then we want to have an at in there with the quotation marks around, and close that bracket, again have another action. I'll just scroll down so you can see everything. We'll just come down here, and then we want to, I've realized we have 2 lots of, so we want this one to be closed here, and then if we go down, we want to hit tab, and we want this one to be closed just here. So under the if statement, we want to have at symbol count plus plus, and then what we want just under this little action bracket is we want to hit tab and do return at symbol count, and then 3 equals 1, and then that will come through as undefined because we don't have an at. So let's put in the a at b.com and just hit that all in again. So let's copy and paste that. And it should be giving us a value, although it's giving us undefined. So here, what we can also do is just do a check about the is valid email. So here we can do, let me just clear the console actually, because I think it's making it difficult because I've got too much going on. So
Hi, Paige,
yep.
It's Mark. Our email variable was defined a while ago and we haven't redefined it.
Okay.
So just use email input.value. That's always up to date.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So what we also want to check is whether or not, so let's just put that back in again just to see about, still undefined, but I don't think we can move past that, I think. Yep. So what we want to actually do is display an error if the user wants news and offers, but they didn't enter a valid email address. So because we can see that this is working up here, what we can do is do if, and then just do, so news and offers input dot checked, and then we do the 2 ands because we want to see if it's been checked and we have a valid email. So then we just do the exclamation mark is valid email, and then we do what we did above with the email input dot value, close the bracket twice, and then what we want to do again is have the action going. So if we just put that there, and we just do news and offers caption dot inner text, and then do equals please enter a valid email address to receive news and offers. We can then close those and again go down and do else, open again for us, and then hit tab and do news and offers caption dot inner text. Have nothing if that is correct. Then if we hit that, this will be me. So let me just retry this, but it could also be because I haven't. Okay, so there we go. So here we can see we don't need to do that, but if we take that out and we rerun that again, then it will say please enter a valid email address to receive news and offers, because obviously we've ticked the box. If we then untick the box again and we run that again just as proof, we'll have nothing to come through. So then if we go back to the PowerPoint, and I'll just move the once that pops up on your screen. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk quickly or briefly about function scopes, but this is what determines whether or not we can use a variable. So we have the idea of local and global. So if we have a local, this is when we've used or we've created a variable within a function, and this means that we're not able to then get this. We can't use this widely across our code. We're not able to call for it in different functions. However, if we've created a variable, and which is why we create the variables, and it's outside of the function, then we're able to call for this across many different codes, which is why we like to start with creating the variables and then being able to call them throughout the different codes. So what we're going to do is we're going to find and store phone input and caption elements as variables, and then use a function to display an error if the user didn't enter a valid UK phone. So I think, oh, not. So let's go back to the console, and we're just going to clear that so it's fresh for us to use. So what so this is kind of similar to the previous exercise, but using phone numbers. So I guess also there is many different combinations of numbers you could use, such as like the +44, or in different countries they have those different numbers at the beginning. It's the same for domain names with emails. So just something to touch on that's good for you to know is that we can also use a JavaScript library which has been created by someone who will have already done all the checks for us. We won't be using it today, but it's worth you looking out for them if you're really interested in learning more about JavaScript. So what we would then want to do is we want to, as always, store the phone input and caption as variables. So do var phone input document dot get element by ID, and then put in the phone input. Close that. And then here we just put phone input. Then do var phone caption equals document dot get element by ID, and then again do phone caption. And then we do phone caption here. So, and then we just want to enter that. So here we can see what the phone, how long the phone value is here. At the moment we have nothing in there. So it should return as, oops, there's nothing, but maybe we can also put in like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here we can do that again. And you'll see that it returns that. So what we want to do now is check if the phone number is 11 characters long. So what we would do is make a function and do function is valid phone number. And then again, we do the action brackets for us. And then here what we want to do is return the phone number length and so I guess that's, let me just double check this. It's undefined because it's not equaling to 11. So if we then put in like an extra value, still undefined. So what we can do is also we can test this to see in Booleans, like, is it correct? So is valid phone number so that's false, and then we can do here is valid, and then if we just put in the, so if we do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, close those, and that should say tell us true. So then what we wanted from the, so we just want to we want to use the function to display an error if it's not 11 long. So if we just clear the console, so we can then put in function is valid phone number, again we want the actions, sorry we don't. So what we want to do is just check if it's valid or not. So is valid phone number phone input dot value. So we want to see true. So we can see that this is 11 long. And then we want to do is we want to display an error if the user didn't use a valid 11-digit phone number. So what we'll do here is if, and then use an exclamation mark, is valid phone number, do phone input dot value, We want again to do the action, and let's just have that ready for ourselves. Hit tab and do phone caption. Oops. Dot inner text equals please enter a valid UK phone number. Then again, we want the else. Then oops, tab, and then we do phone caption dot inner text. And that is my fault because I missed the N. So that means, yep, that's working. And if we just take that out, we can hit that again. And then we see again, please enter a valid phone number. So then if we go back to the slides, and hopefully this will work quicker. So then what we want is we're looking at what we've been writing is mostly in string, and where we're looking at certain conditions, we want to look at numbers, like the number of adults or children attending, and these have to be numeric. So what we need to then do is use the parseInt function. And so it converts a digit string into a number that it represents. And if it fails or if it's empty, then it will show up as not a number, which also stands for nan. And it will fail if it has any letters in. So moving quickly on to exercise 5. So here what we want to do is find and store the guest number input and caption elements as variables, write a function to return a suitable message based on the guest number inputs, and then use this function to display a message if the user didn't enter a valid or suitable number of guests. So again, let's just clear the console. And what we need to do is first store the number of adults input, the number of children input, and also the number of guest caption as variables. The reason why we need the guest caption is because we want to be able to use the whole of the inner text underneath both of the number of adults and children. So we would just write out var num adults input equals document dot get element by ID, and then num adults input. Then we want num adults input. Then we want to do the same again for the child input. And I've just spotted num children input. Then again, we want to do num children input. And then we want var num guests caption equals document dot get element by ID, and then do num guest caption and do num guests caption here. So then when we enter this, That is me trying to write too quickly. And I think I tried to. So then we just want to do the same again for num children and num adults as well. So what we will find is that these are now all strings. So if we were to so if in here we put 2 and we put 0 in here, so just taking a quick look at what the values are, we'd get num adults input.value. That would come out as 2. Then if we did the same for children, whoops, dot value, that should come out as 0. The issue we have with JavaScript is then when we try to add these two together, so instead of copying and pasting, I'll just quickly, instead of writing them out, and we do plus this one, because they're string, it will then make them 20, which is why we then need the pass int. So if we just take pass instead, so if we do what we just did above and we do pass int, and we do number adults input, and we do plus num pass int again, num children input dot value, and I nearly forgot that there as well. See, you can see that the nan was about to come up. So we then see 2. So that's why we need it, because JavaScript can't flip these into numbers because it would just knock the 0 off. And when we ever do pass int, the numbers will come out as blue. So we'll now go back to the slides. Oh, and what we need to do now is display a message if the user didn't enter a valid or a suitable input. So I'm just going to clear the console. So what we're going to do is do function, then we're going to do get num guest caption, and do num guests, and then we've got the squiggly brackets again. So just go here, and then what we want to do is do return please contact us by phone to arrange. I've forgotten a bit, sorry. So here we want to do if num guests greater than 6, because of COVID rules applying. So then we'll do these. So then here we want to do return, but what we'll do with the return is we want to put it in a bit more, arrange a booking for more than 6 guests. Close the quotation marks, and then we just want to do so else and what we want to do is then click tab a couple times and do return, and then oops. So what I wanted to do then was then we want to, I think we are missing a, so we want to put, and that's what it was trying to tell me. So this is saying undefined. So what we then can do is get num guests caption So we've put in 8. So say, please contact us by phone. And if we just quickly do that again, and instead this time we use the pass int. So I think I'm missing something. So let me just put that back in again. And then let's redo this one.
Paige, you're just missing a closing bracket. You've got a double in get num guess caption parse int. You just got a missing close bracket again.
That makes sense. Thank you, Mark. And then that shows you that you don't need any more there. So I realize that we are kind of behind. So I will try and be as quick as possible over the next couple of exercises. So we actually only have one more in the console, and then the JavaScript is quite a quick one as we have the code ready for you. So just explaining events in JavaScript. So so far we've been able to set off actions that we've taken from JavaScript manually, but what we want to do is make events happen for specific things. So when something happens, do this. So just moving on. So events in JavaScript is when a page loads. So like, do play the video of a cat sliding into a cardboard, or playing videos on YouTube. When a click happens, or when a mouse release happens. So all of these different things are events. And so what we need to do is when the thing happens, and then how does it react, basically. So event listeners, they're kind of a simple function that asks users for their name and then greets them, in this case. So it just allows us to do document.body add event listener, and it's able to get the click, and then it will be able to greet the users. So for us, what do we want to do? So we want to create a function to update the news and offers caption using the if-else statement from exercise 3. And then use this function to update the news / offers caption whenever the news and offers input is flipped on and off. Ooh, so let me just exit. And let's go back on here. Let's clear the console. And then what we want to do is, so we want the if-else statement from exercise 3. So if we want to just start, we want to do function update news and offers caption. So then we want to do if, and it might be easier just to copy and paste for this one, so that we have the exact from what we had in number 3, and also because we are close to running out of time. So then this comes out as undefined. So what we, so as we don't have anything ticked, so what we can try is in the bottom part of the form to see what happens. And we can see with the brackets and without the brackets. So update news and offers caption. So undefined, and then update. So what we want to do from the above is we want to be able to say that it's ticked or it's not ticked, and then we want the caption to show up to say enter a valid email address. But what we want to do is we want this only to go on anytime that anytime that there's a change in the news and offers input, and be able to run the caption whenever there is a change. So what we then need to do is we want to add in news and offers input and do add event listener. And here we want to do change. And then what we want to do is update news and offers caption. So you can already see that it's, and we just want to close the bracket. And here we've got undefined. So here, if I just put news, if we just check whether or not it's ticked. So see if it's checked or not. News and offers input checked. So I think what needs to happen is, need to just do var news and offers input.
That was just a basic typo there. Just your new and offers input. That was all.
I feel like I'm going.
That's it.
This one here.
You put new, not news. When you check, yeah, the dot checked.
Okay. I feel like I am. Any capitals? No.
Yeah, it's very case sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
I think Adeline spotted a couple.
Go.
There we go.
Undefined. Thank you, Mark. And so this will then change for whenever we are clicking these. So as you see, please enter a valid email address as we click and we unclick it as well. So back to PowerPoint, and we are nearly done, and I'm sorry for running, I guess, over. So we will then move on to using Visual Studio Code and JavaScript. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a folder for the site on our own computer, which is linked HTML and JavaScript file, and we'll move the functionality tested so far into the console, into this file, so that we can add functionality to update all form captions at once when the user clicks the form submit button. So what we have here, or what we'll be doing here, is instead of the different, I guess, error messages popping up, like in, I guess, normal life, you only ever hit them when we go to click submit. And so it's trying to make sure that they're not popping up all the time, because that in itself can be kind of annoying. So I want to stay on this. I don't know why I came off. So what we want to do, and I will go through this with you as well. So we would like you to create a folder on your own laptop. So let me just exit this, and we can. So here I'm going to put mine into my desktop, and I'm just going to click new folder, and I'm going to call it, when it works, so I'm going to call it Pasta Hut, just to make sure it's simple and easy to follow. And then it's good to leave this open. So hopefully, I'm hoping that you have the other code as we go through. So what we then want to do is we want to open the folder in Visual Studios, and it would help me if I had that open. So hopefully you do all too, or if not, this gives you a chance to quickly open it as well. So then once that's open, I think I've opened it too many times. So what we then want to do hopefully it will sort itself out. I can see the back one's okay. So hopefully you should all have this first page, and hopefully it's clear. And what you want to do is you want to do File, Open Folder, and so mine was in my desktop. So I want to go to my desktop and find Pasta Hut and just open this. And so while that's opening, we can just have a quick look at the presentation. So then what we want to do is we want to create our site. So we'll need to create a new HTML file. So the way that we do this is through, hopefully, let me just shut these ones down. Okay, so then what we want to do here is we want to click on this new button, and so like in the PowerPoint, we just want to do index.html. So click this, index.html, and we can just enter that. And I'm hoping you have the HTML code. So all you need to do here is then copy the code. This one. So from here, you can actually just click at the top, or you can copy and paste the whole lot. But you just want to pop that in here. And this is where you will link the JavaScript code. But what we need to do first is, if we just have a look back here, as it will show you, we then also need to create a JavaScript file. So I'm going to click this, and I may just put, I think they had form checker. And then you just need to put .js, and this allows it to know that it's JavaScript. Make sure that you save everything down, because I know I've definitely done that a couple of times where I'm trying to look for my code online and it's not working. So then what we need to then do is, so here's the HTML code. So the way that we link the JavaScript into the HTML is we do this script, crc equals form checker.js. So I will just demonstrate that for you in here instead of here. So we'll just go here and we'll put in, so get rid of that. Script crc equals, and because it's in here, it'll already pick it up for you, so you can just hit tab, and then you want to then end that with another script. And then on this, so make sure you save that. And then on this form checker, what we want to do is just to see that that they've been contained together. What we want to do is we want to put alert, and we want to put hello. Don't forget the quotation marks. And so then we just make sure you save. And what we want to do then is we can just right click on your mouse and you can do copy path. And then what we can do is we can just go in here and we can just enter this. And this is a neat way to see if it works. Although my alert has not come up. So let me make sure that this is correct.
Page got a dash in the form dash checker.js.
Okay.
HTML. Slightly different to the file name. That's all.
Okay. Let me just go back here and correct that as well. Okay, it's corrected itself. And I'll save them and copy this again. Still no alert though. I'm just checking it's in the right place. So it's above the closing body HTML. And hopefully the rest of you are not having this problem, but
It could be an artifact, but it looks to me like you've got one JavaScript file which is form space checker, another one which is form dash checker. Is that just an artifact? No, that's okay.
I mean, I could recreate the...
Oh, I think you're right. I think it's just an artifact, a compression artifact in the feed.
In here.
Looks okay. You could take out the other JavaScript file you're referencing in the index.html. You're referencing a JavaScript file called something like setup.js. So you immediately at the bottom of your HTML, there's an additional JS file reference. So you script open that.
Oops. Copy path. I think that was the pictures. Yeah. Let me just try to see if it's something I've written instead of copying and pasting. And let me have a look at what the console's saying. Though it says no issues. So let me see if I delete this and redo it again, if that might help. So I don't think that's working, but that should pop up. I don't know if that's working on your side as well, or not.
I'm getting the same. Let's suss that one out.
So it's possibly something in the HTML rather than the. Oops.
Someone from the audience suggested if a colon was missing or semicolon.
Possibly.
Yeah.
From. Do they know where it might be missing from? Just to.
Maybe on the one where you have the alert.
Okay.
Does it need it there?
Can give it a try.
Yeah, at the end of the alert, hello.
So that doesn't seem to. Okay, so I will move on, and I'll post the fix in the YouTube chat later. But basically what we would then do is we would remove this alert. So there's also the JavaScript code that we were putting in. And again, we can just copy and paste this. And so what you would then do is paste this in, and this should then run easily enough once you've saved it to allow you to then have a listener for when you click the button. So we can give this one more try and maybe see if it works, but I think a fix will have to be the way that we go about this. And let's just quickly put in some. So I don't think this is linked, so we will post this in the chat for you later. So just going back to the PowerPoint so that we can finish up. And sorry for running over so long as well. And so once this comes through, oops. So let me just. Should have started from where we left off, but so we can quickly jump through these pieces. So in summary, a quick recap. So JavaScript is really useful and it's used in the back of web development, and it's generally on every web page today that you see. It's a computer language that is, as we said before, it comes from other languages like C and C++. So if you are looking at them, they can be easier to pick up from now. Now it's been written in JavaScript, but JavaScript itself is the simplest of them all. And we can use it with HTML and CSS to build websites to basically have looks, style, and interaction. And it's, as it says here, it's never too late to learn new skills, which is definitely something that I've learned, because before this I definitely couldn't code as well as I can now. So just wanted to say thank you for, I guess, listening to me for this session. We will get you a fix for the end issue, and I hope that you've had a good session.
All right, thanks very much, Paige, and the rest of the team for going through. I hope the audience enjoyed that. Feel free to post your questions in chat, but I think this is the end of the session today. We'll be able to send out the fixes to you as well. So we'll have a follow-up email. We can send that through. Have a really good evening, guys. And yeah, if you have Nanodegree questions as well, please feel free to message, find, like one of our program Co-First Girls emails, and we can reply you there as well. Okay, have a very good evening, guys. Take care. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.